What's good? What's good? I'm going to give everybody a second to get in here. Today, I just want to go over, I'll go over indices kind of lightly. And then we'll just hop into TA of whatever coins you guys want me to run and any questions you guys have. I just realized I'm not even sharing the Discord, my screen. There we go. Yeah, so with ES, where we're at, I think it's pretty clear we're moving back down into a discount of this massive move we've had. Really, I mean, it was started with that. I just didn't really like that reaction that much. But looking back, I mean, that's really, the framework was exhibited there. But for me, the real displacement came in over here. So if I can get this drawn. You see, we went a little bit over, but that was kind of our premium sell zone as far as to swing into the lower half of this range. Got another breakdown here, traded right back into the order block. So now that we've got this kind of second leg of distribution, I think that we're going to make a move down lower into these areas. I like this imbalance as a first target because you guys know I'm all about low-hanging fruit. We did kind of trade down into this order block here. I don't think it's going to hold. I think this low is going to get taken. So what I'm looking at overall is, and it's Thursday, so I don't know how much we'll be able to capitalize off this. I mean, we might. I wanted us to react harder off this fair value gap. I took a trade this morning and closed it out. Well, I closed half of it and let the rest go to BE. So the idea for the trade was that 1 hour fair value gap. We took this liquidity, and as soon as we got this breakdown, I shorted somewhere right in here. And I took about half of it after we took this low, and then just let the rest go to break even. So now we've got some displacement to the upside. Tells us the market's reaching higher. Since we were so close to this, I thought I was going to just continue. But that's why we trim and move stops to entry. So what I think we're headed right now is to this imbalance. That's the first imbalance that is at a premium of this impulse swing that gave us the displacement downwards. So that's kind of like the market telling us it wants to go lower, and we want to just look for areas in a premium to frame trades to take it lower. So pretty clear framework. We've got our immediate draw, which is where we're going to look to frame trades, but our overall draw based on the 1 hour and daily range is going to be in a discount of this price swing. Now we can draw this two different ways. The whole 1 hour range that I would like to draw is this right here. So it's a pretty big range. I'm not going to adjust from here. That's the impulse swing. So this is right above equilibrium. So it's very low hanging fruit. Now, if we draw it like this, it's right below it. So that's why I like this zone kind of as a first target, some low-hanging fruit. Could go a lot lower. We've got this breaker right over here. These two candles right there. So we could go lower. But again, you guys know my style is just to figure out where I think price is going and kind of chip away along the way. So potential sells off this zone here. If we start to get a 5-minute pushing to the downside and giving us that displacement break of structure. Now, if you're on a 5-minute, we have some liquidity getting taken here. It's also a 5-minute unmitigated gap from that to that right there. So we'll see how it reacts. Again, we don't want to just short from that. We want to wait until price gets there, and we want to see, does it give us our pattern where we want to enter a sell, and then look at that sell or that point. I would be taking it down to this right here and trim probably some at this imbalance or this breaker, and then some lows along the way, just depending on how price, what kind of entry it gives. Because if I get a good risk to reward down to some of this low-hanging fruit, I'm fine with taking that. So that's really all I wanted to get into as far as indices. And then yesterday we talked about this price action on NOS. It didn't hit my ideal entry, so I didn't trade. I did say that I was looking at the full fill of this, but I wanted the breaker. So it looks like I was maybe, I guess again, I just got left behind on that one. So it's okay. But it did get nice reaction at that full fill. That acted as a nice little wall. And then we got that displacement. So right now, the price leg that is holding my interest is this right here, just because it's the most recent displacement. Seems like NOS is moving up a little bit higher already in this range. So we'll see if they start to give that sell signal. If they don't, they might continue. So we just kind of, it's just a waiting game at this point. And look in the comments, see if there's any. Okay, what's up? What's up, Adeliki and Skura? Sushi, hi from Mushroom Empire. Oh, what's up? Hell yeah. Hey, thanks for answering my question. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm glad that you took the time to go back and watch. I remember you'd asked me on Twitter, Alicio, so I was happy to help. It's just a lot of people that ask me questions on Twitter. I feel bad because I really can't I can't answer. Just yo, okay, there you go. Sorry about that. My mic, I don't know what it is. This computer, like the USB port, it's a 3.0. It's like fucked up, and it will just, my mic will just turn off and on. Where was I? Oh yeah. So a lot of times people ask me questions on Twitter, and I just really am not that equipped to answer them if I don't have a chart. It's some things are hard to type. So okay, I'm gonna go these in order. The first one is sushi. So Adeliki asked for. Start on a weekly chart. So we took out this low right here. I think, oh, we did take that low. Okay, so we've taken both these lows and traded down into this fair value gap. That was back in June. Sushi has actually held up fairly well, to be quite honest. We got our shift. Now we've came back down to a deep optimum trade entry. Looks like this daily order block. We actually took out that liquidity there. I think this might go lower, to be honest, just because of the way that, you know, when I look at this, it's like, what are we reacting to? You know, this wick right here? I don't think so. I think that, I mean, it could be just coming off this sell side liquidity, but overall, this looks like more downside for me on the like the higher time frames. I think that this low will probably get taken. So that being said, we got this displacement down telling us the market was reaching lower on a daily chart. So we have this fair value gap. I think you'll probably travel back up into that. And if we want to refine that, since it is a massive zone, go into a 1 hour. And I really like this whole little zone right here, this little buy to sell range. So I think that was also the FOMC. Can't remember if that was the date or not. It probably was, but I like this zone. So overall, like 1.55 for a retrace, and then probably more downside. So we'll probably get a good push into that zone at some point. That's what I'd be looking for. Now, I think the higher value trade would be to wait until it comes up here. But you can always try to trade the lower time frames on the way up. I think it's just a little less probable. So if we look, when the market first told us it was going to push up, was right there, that shift. So we'd look and say, okay, well, we're going to wait for price to come back down to a discount. It did immediately here. There wasn't really a gap, to be honest. I mean, you could look at this as an order block, but not the prettiest price action as far as this 1 hour goes. The price ended up coming back down. Oh, no, it didn't. Not into that gap. It came into a discount. It didn't really come into the fair value gap. So that one may have been a mistrade for my strategy. But if you trade off the order block, you would have got an entry. And at this point, you know, you would be just kind of holding. If you got in here, stops under the main low. As far as for re-entry, I mean, it's at a good spot right now overall. If I was looking to trade this up, so you've got that fair value gap. So I'm looking at the displacement. You know, we had this displacement to the upside, right? So we had this right here. We came back down, took out all that internal liquidity, rocketed up. So then orders flow is still bullish, reacting to sell side liquidity with reversals. Push up, come back down to this imbalance right here. So now this is the range we're operating within. So if we are looking for price to go higher, we are at a point where the displacement has been up. The overall higher time frame is telling us that we probably are going to want to retrace because we've came down, took out this old low, and now we've formed a swing low here. So when that happens, we look for price to come back to a premium. So then we took a look at the lower time frames. If you know, hop into a 5-minute. Nothing super clear for what I would want yet. You've got your sweep into the zone. So now what you want to see after you take that low right there is you want to see a nice break in structure. And this to me, it's questionable right there. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I'd maybe be waiting for a second break of a high with displacement. And then at that point, look to get in and trade it all the way up, taking profits at highs along the way. Any areas on like a 15-minute or 1 hour that are obvious. So it'd be, these equal highs. I'd probably just take it down to this high. Equal highs. And then up there. Those could all be nice targets if price starts to give that 5-minute price action that I'd like. So the next one was EU. I have this. So this is another one we moved to the downside pretty nicely. Came back up in that rejection block. And now we've also showed that displacement to the downside. And we talked about this weekly order block earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday. And the fact that we had a probability to maybe see some reversal there, because if we look at this daily range, we have this impulse swing up, took us into the buy side liquidity resting above this high and into that weekly order block. So now it would be likely we're going to draw to the downside. So we've kind of formed a swing high there. We had a higher or a lower high on each side of it. And now we're starting to push down a little bit. So overall bias here, I would want to see some retracement. And this morning seems like it actually gave a really nice opportunity. Again, in London sessions, exactly why sometimes I wish my time zone was different just to trade at EU because it's so fucking clean. Like that is just perfect. Like, bearish daily bias, you wait for a liquidity raid during the kill zone. So I think that whenever we're looking at this price action, we're looking at a power of 3. So if we'll hop into a lower time frame, it might be a little clearer. Very clean. Very, very clean. So you've got that Asia range right there. We move over into this area. Price comes up, manipulates, and then flushes down. So with that being said, we can go on a 15-minute, make this a little easier. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can either use the bodies or the wicks to find an optimal trade entry. So we've got these equal highs right here with an imbalance just above it. Now, I don't know, that's a pretty big jump for it to make it back up before the session's over because it already is lunchtime. So I'm not sure if I would count on that, but if the only trade I would take here is probably a raid of those highs into this fair value gap. And the reason for that is it's right in that optimal trade entry of the London expansion. Very clean delivery as far as the power of 3 and manipulation. So, we don't have to trade, but if I'm going to trade whenever price action is this clean, I'd want to trade at an optimal trade entry. Now you could also do this, and like I use the wicks, you can use the bodies, and that's still going to bring you to the same area. Most of the time it does. So that being said, I wouldn't try to trade the move up. One could try to do that, but the New York session oftentimes does give a retracement. I think the market this is a tough one because it came right above these equal highs and it looks like it couldn't close. But a lot of displacement up into the move or up into that. So you could watch this zone for potential buys. That would be a little aggro in my opinion, just because I think the better opportunity is just wait till we're up here. But that's what I would see. Alicio asked, are fair value gaps a target or an entry? They're both. So whenever I'm talking about, we've got our frameworks, which are market maker models. our market structure shift models, our liquidity rate models, our power of three, all these different ideologies to where price, is building a narrative of what it's doing and why, okay, well, we think price is going to retrace and then continue on a bearish move because we had manipulation in the London session, and then that forms the top wick of the candle. Price is going to expand away from that into a higher time frame POI, right? Now that is our narrative. Those are our frameworks. So we can use those and interchange them with different tools on how to execute. So for instance, if we have a market structure shift and price comes down and shifts up, that's our framework that price is maybe reaching towards something higher. But what are our tools we're going to use? Because we might have a breaker block. We might have a fair value gap. We might have an order block. So this all comes down to your strategy and just what you use. I've used fair value gaps a lot of the times, but really I'm just looking for that first entry in a premium or either a premium or discount. If I'm trying to buy, I'm looking for a discount and vice versa. So, that's really the way that I like to explain it is, there can be targets, they can be entries. They're just tools of telling us, those more precise areas where price is going to play into the narrative that we've developed using a framework. What's up, LM? Carito asks, what do I think next for Bitcoin? It's been jumping all over the place. I mean, I think we've been on these longs all week, not all week, but it feels like it. It's when we come and take these lows, it's kind of both ways because we take the highs. Actually, it didn't take a high right there. Okay, never mind. Well, okay, so that's that. But it takes the lows. Like we take a low, break structure the upside. We take a low, and we start to break structure the upside. So that tells me that it pushes down our rating liquidity. Now, I will say it's not the prettiest price action. This right here, we make this break up and massively engulf the move. Then we kind of moving up. It's not the cleanest price action. I'm still leaning towards upside, but I wanted to see a little bit more explosiveness out of the zone. So we got a nice reaction off of our limits, but as I told someone in the group, because people were really happy about no drawdown, I was like, don't get excited. It's going to sweep that. But overall, still following bullish order flow because we're rating those lows and seeing breaks of structure and tapping off these institutional order flow points. So overall, I still want higher. USDCAD showed a daily fair value gap, but when you zoom to H1 time frame, the fair value gap is in the H1 candle above the daily fair value gap. In that case, which fair value gap would you choose? The only reason you would ever refine it is because if you have a small fair value gap. So I wouldn't have even looked at the 1 hour time frame for that. Like for this fair value gap. We've talked about this too a lot this week. And did it give entry? No, it hasn't yet. Okay. That fair value gap was it's not even the same area. So you have no reason to look at the 1 hour for fair value. Now, and for me, now it might go up there. I'm not saying it's not going to go up there. But if you're looking at the daily fair value gap, the only reason you would refine is if it's too big of a zone. When we look at this, it's not a very huge zone, so it doesn't need to be refined, in my opinion. Zero asked a good question. How do you identify a raid? So let's just say you have price action where we have an area where we can look at price and we can say, okay, well, there's probably a lot of people that are looking to go long that have stop losses there, or maybe people who are looking to go short that are going to get into a sell if we break that level because there's a lot of breakout traders. So let's say our daily bias is bullish and we say that there's a fair value gap up here that we want to trade into. And that's our overall narrative. Now, let's say price come into our session, price comes up, moves around a little bit, and then it flushes down. So how do we determine if this is a raid or maybe we're just wrong and price is going to continue down? So if we want a narrative of a reversal. We just want to see bullish structure. So for instance, if you see something like this, right? So we take that high instead of going from, we made a high, a lower high, or I'm sorry, a high, a lower low, lower high, lower low. And now we've shifted to make a higher high with displacement. Now this leg in price needs to be exaggerated and very forceful, because that tells us that all of the liquidity that was down here is now bought up, because smart money or whoever is buying up the asset and causing a shift in structure with force, because it's a massive move. So then you look for your entry points. So price comes down, and then now that's how you determine that smart money was just pushing price down under all these lows in order to be able to accumulate a position. Oops, did not do that. That's specifically what I'm looking for here on $CAD. We've met the first draw. We talked about this high. So analysis playing out very clean. I mean, it's like, actually, oh wait, there's a swing low right there. Do this. Move this just so it's not all over the place, because we know where we're at. Price took that low with displacement. So now there's a very tiny gap here with a high front running it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an alert for that, the beginning of that fair value gap. Also, we've got equal highs. Also, we've got a nice breaker block right here. So if price can react nicely on the 1 hour, I would look to take it down into these lows. Why is that? Well, there's equal lows. There's a weekly imbalance. We've came into our daily draw that we talked about. Now we see the 1 hour shifting structure. So now we're going to wait for price to come up in this region and then off to a 5 minute and watch for shift in structure there. MC says Bitcoin has been chilling around your entry for a day or so. How do you decide when to cut it if you aren't getting the movement? I never do that. That's a rookie mistake in my opinion. If you cut it just because it's not moving, that's not. And here's the thing: there is a point in your trading when you will get to a point where you can have a discretionary trade management system, but I don't recommend it for most people, because if you have a system and you know what you're doing, it's okay to be wrong. So like, why cut it early? Because people are afraid to take a loss. So it's like, oh fuck, it's not doing what I need to do. I just gotta cut it. And then what happens? Then that trade flies without you, and then you're psychologically damaged and all, in shambles, and you missed out on money. I think that most of the time, it is, it's a bad idea to just try to determine what you're going to do with a trade after you're in it. That's why it's really important to know exactly what you're going to do while you're planning it. So like, if you're going to trade, you need to know every last thing before you get in that trade. You don't need to just wait till it gives you entry, you get in and then you find a target, because now your decision making is very skewed and you're not going to make good decisions like if you had planned everything out. And once you make that plan, you're making an agreement with yourself. And if you start to renegotiate those agreements, that's whenever you have no foundation and you're just mindless. And even if you are wrong, or if you take a loss and you look back and say, oh, I knew I should have cut that. That's a rookie mentality, because that's what's going to fuck you. Because you're going to next time you're going to cut it too early, and next time that trade's going to be the one that won. So you have to look at it like, we have no idea what's going to happen. We just know that we have a strategy that can assist us in being right more than wrong. Or at least when we're right, we're way more right than we're wrong, as in we take a big win instead of, a small loss. So everybody wants to always be right, or like never take a loss, and that's just not reality. And that mentality is what separates most traders from being profitable. So that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it. We need to see a break of structure in the lower time frame. Whatever time frame so like for instance, if you're looking at a a raid on the 1 hour. So like here's the 1 hour price and price goes down. You don't have to wait for a shift on the 1 hour, right? You can be more aggressive with it. You might say, okay, well, now that we've came down here, I'm going to, go down to my 5 minute, right? And say, I'm going to confirm that 1 hour raid with the 5 minutes. So you'd look on the 5 minute for this price action. You don't have to wait for it to happen in the 1 hour. Now it's more highly probable if you have wait for it in the 1 hour, but a lot of times, that the trade's already played out, right? That was the trade, this leg in price, you're playing the retracement, or maybe you went higher because you're biased. Now, the problem a lot of people have with liquidity raids is they want to trade every single one, and they think if the sell side gets taken, now we got to take the buy side. That's not how it works. And I really recommend you watch the video I have on ranges and my strategy for bias, because that's what's going to decide if you do that effectively or not. Because you can have your entry down, and especially with liquidity rates, but if you're not aware of what's going on, the targeting is very hard, because people always want to say, oh, well, we got to raid down, I'm going to target the highs, because you might say, price does this, and then it gives you a massive raid down. Well, down here, you want to get in a trade, after you've gotten your 5 minutes, we're assuming it's already given you your area, and you want to say, I'm taking it to the highs. These are equal highs. They're going down. But what you fail to realize is that price is bearish based off your daily or your higher time frame. So instead of targeting that, you're going to look for the first area of interest at or past equilibrium. So you're going to look for that. Now, this is a high risk reward, but you guys get the picture, hopefully. If you don't, ask me again. What is displacement? I have a whole short video on it you can watch that'll help you more than watching it here. It's just displacement is just big pushes in the market. So like, for instance, if we have structure doing this, we barely pip a high, let's say, we got this. It's just it's creeping up, and it takes the high right here. Most likely that's going to make newer lows. But now if you see something like this, a big push, that's something you want to say, okay, well, now I'm going to look for a gap to trade, because those big pushes are undeniable footprints of large investors. So the whole idea of smart money concepts or price action trading is looking to trade with the whales or with the banks or smart money or whatever moniker you want to use. We're looking for indication that somebody with a lot more money than you is doing something. So if somebody with a lot of money enters the market, it's going to be undeniable. It's a displacement in the market. Ahmed said or asked, do I advise newbies to start with scalping? Hell no, absolutely not. It's like the worst thing you could do to yourself. And Link, I just now saw that. Gabriel, I don't know how it didn't notify me, but I'm going to look at that now. No, definitely don't scalp first. That's a great way to hate trading. So as with most crypto, we took out some lows, but we still have some liquidity down. This is a different one, because I really wanted price to come up to these highs. I mean, it's it's mind-boggling to me. That didn't get cleared before the FTX stuff. I'm surprised that didn't get ran and then reverse. But that buy-side liquidity is still preserved. Now, the displacement currently is not to the upside anymore. Here we are upside. Everything was upside. But now, the rug got pulled on crypto, it seems like, or at least that's what it seems like. We don't know if that's the case or not, but we have this massive displacement down, shifting in structure. So what I see off rip is a breaker right there. So this little candle, and the reason it's a breaker is it took stops from this high. Didn't take them from over here, took them from that more recent high. It's funny, I have it named breaker. I don't even use it for breakers. So that right there, and then you also have an order block as well, the same level. So I like this $8 point. That's a big jump. And price kind of is forming a swing high. It fell back down. Seems like it took liquidity right there. So now we've got that high resistance trend on liquidity. So let's hop on a 1 hour. Yeah, this actually looks pretty nice. I like this. So I think with excuse me, guys, sorry. I actually like this. I'm about to set some limits on this. So what I'm gonna do is, yeah, I like this a lot. You guys are getting a live free trade. So they might just get that on point. 5976, 5976. Yeah, CP said the scalping one got him. I mean, I swear that is how it goes. So I'm going to set, what is this? 8085, but I'm going to be taking profits pretty heavy early on. This is just going to be for like a final target. I'll actually take profits right there. And then after that, I don't like that level too. Yeah, so that's where I'll be at with it. I'm going to go ahead and put this a couple ticks under these lows. And you guys got a nice little free trade. I appreciate you calling this or asking me to look at that. And these are some of my favorite days is when I just do TA for you guys, because I'm pretty honed in on what I'm looking at as far as like for day trading. I look at indices most of the time, and crypto, like the last week or two, we were going hard on crypto. I was actually focusing more on crypto, but it's nice whenever you guys throw out some coins and then I get to get a kind of like recommendations on what to look at. Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like this potential little we could do this on a lower time frame or a higher time frame. So boom. And this time frame would probably not the target would not be that far, but I see it also in a higher time frame as far as, or a higher time span is really this whole range. But we'll see. I like the equal lows. That's really, so for instance, when I look at this, the daily had got that high resistance run on liquidity, right? We took liquidity and then we took it again. So then I look, okay, what's going on the 1 hour? Look what happens, how we came off that low. This is displacement, 0. So displacement, shifting structure, and then now we've formed this range above this massive imbalance. So if you look, when you draw this little zone on this displacement, price did come to a discount, but we never came to an imbalance in a discount. So we could just react off this breaker. That might have been the entry. But I see these equal lows forming right there. There's going to be a lot of people buying in this range. Now, where the stop loss going to be? Right there. Support. So that's where we look to buy. See how this plays out. Skura said, this may be a stupid question, but how can you take industries on live if the data is late 10 minutes? I pay for the data. But you can also use US 500. But the data is $4 a month. So if you'd like, you can pay for it. Or like, so my ES data isn't delayed. So if you see up here, there's no little D up there. So you can pay the extra bit for it, or you can use a CFD chart like US 500. You have to pay for that. I recommend using ES just because that's where the big dogs are trading, but you don't have to. I know a lot of great traders who don't. It's just my style. Do I use buy to sell or sell to buy blocks? Yeah, we actually just were talking about one a second ago. Or was it, which was it, Euro? What was it? I don't think it was Euro, actually. Where were we? We were just talking about sushi, because we didn't look at that many coins. Yeah, there's a BTS block, if that's what you want to call it, just a little buy to sell range. And really, it's just an order block that is on a fractal or a supply zone. There's just whatever you want to use to talk about it, I guess. One thing I will say though about this is, I mean, it did take out the trend line liquidity. Anytime I see trend lines, it makes me a little iffy, but it did technically take it out. Doesn't seem like it's really giving the cleanest price action here in this zone. So this is a good example of why you don't want to always just buy in the zone. Just, once it gets there, because after it got in the zone, it swept, came up, failed to take the high. Can I please find a trading range here live now, starting from 1 day to 3 minutes? Yeah, sure. Give me a coin. How about HBAR? We'll do it on HBAR. There you go. I think you're probably the person who's asked me about this on Twitter. I think you're overthinking it, because there's trading ranges, so to speak, on every different time frame. They're all different. There's not like a trading range. So for instance, this would be the trading range in the daily, right? It might be the same in the weekly on this time frame. The weekly range for me would be all the way up here. Now why? Well, if we look, we had this low when we formed a high. So what is the highest point between these two lows? That's this high still. So this is the weekly trading range. Now, if we're on a daily chart, it's going to be different, because if we look at the daily had a lot of trading ranges in between here. Went bam, bam, down to here. So you were here at here. I went up, made a new low, made a new high, and you can continuously see all these different trading ranges being made. And then if we look here, when we come down, did we move very impulsively off this? No, that's not going to be a new range, right? So that's the way I do that. And then on the weekly, there's a fair value gap at premium, if you're wondering what that is. Now, if I'm going to go to a 1 hour from here, what's the 1 hour range? It's obviously going to be much different, So if we're looking here, so I would say, let's delete this because it's getting on my nerves for how much stuff's on it. This price action is pretty dog shit, to be quite honest with you, as far as for a while, as with most crypto. So I would say your range at that point was this right here. So you really never broke this until all the way over here. So the way I would look at it would be that your trading range is going to be the highest high over here, because that's the higher point between those two lows. If you look, that range we'd formed. Actually, no, sorry. I'd use this high. I knew that looked wrong. So then the reason I'm picking this high is because it's the highest point between the new low, the old low and the new low. So this I'm going to hop out to a 4-hour on. This is going to be a little easier. And that's going to be the range that I would look at as far as for like the lower time frames and the 1 hour. Because the 1 hour, it's just you can barely even see it. But if you want to do it correctly, you know, sometimes it's not going to be pretty. But the point of what you want to look for is POIs that are sitting at a premium. So you've got a pretty nice little buy to sell range there. That right there. Also an imbalance right there. So you could say that this is what you're looking at. Now, if I'm looking at the daily chart, we also have this nice little impulse swing. Now, for impulse swings, you know, what I would look at is our dealing range, which is the most recent displacement. I would move this over to here. Now, notice how that lines up. So look at that. Okay, well, we have this massive daily fair value gap starting there and ending there in a premium. What are we going to do to refine that? We're going to go to a 1 hour and find a POI inside that. You could also, if you wanted to get really savvy with it, say that you have this zone right here. Now, I wouldn't do that just because after a fair value gap hits after price hits equilibrium of the fair value gap or gets close to it like that, I think it's mitigated. So you could look at this high as a draw. Also, you need to watch my videos. I have a whole video on this, on ranges. But I would look at these highs, it's the draw, and this would be your reversal point. Now, again, you just need to wait till price gets to it. Now, if price doesn't reverse, then it's going high. Simple as that. Now, we never know if it's going to for sure reverse there, right? So people ask, is this price going to reverse here? No one knows, right? But what we do know is that we have a range, that daily displacement, and we can also extend that over here. And we know that we also have other areas of liquidity in a premium. So there's a likelihood that this could go ahead and come up here. Why? Because there's equal highs. And if we're looking at this range, we want to see all of the range liquidity. Ideally, we want to see it get swept if we want to see an efficient range. So we've got internal liquidity there and internal liquidity there. So this could go up a lot higher. So as far as trying to short from here and just catch the bottom of the range, I don't think it's as high probability had this and this not been here, because that is, what is this? Oh, so I said, OMG, you're snapping, put the ghost words. I appreciate it. I was reading, I couldn't tell. I was like, the emojis look weird on my stream thing. I don't know why. They don't look like ghosts. So displacement is a break of structure with the fair value gap. So you can have displacement without a fair value gap, but I like to use them to kind of confirm it. So for instance, I'm not saying there's no such thing as displacement without a gap, but as a beginner and just really all the time, it's a good rule to have. So like if you want to enter, if you're like me, you use fair value gaps a lot of the time. So I hope that answered that question. I have not looked at MATICUSD. We'll look at it. And yeah, we can do it. We'll do another example of Nike Boy right here on Matic. So we talked about this range for quite some time. That gap you see is this weekly gap. It just doesn't show for, or wait, it was a monthly gap too. Oh, wow. Look at that. I didn't realize. So weekly gap and monthly gap. So now the daily showed this is actually really clean price action. This looks bearish as fuck, first off. But shift right there. Here's a great example of displacement. Like we had our high time frame framework. We came into this gap that we had been talking about for a long time. Price pushes into it. We get what? Our shift in structure. That's displacement. So now if we take a tool and draw on the fib tool, what is our first point of interest in a premium? Bam. Look at that. Now guess what? We're going towards this. If I look at the 1 hour, we've already came up to a premium and rebalanced after the whole FTX scandal. So this already saw a big pump. So I'm not really looking. I mean, it might pump with the rest of crypto. That's kind of the crypto thing to do. Now, what I see here is a draw down here on this low. And this is kind of counterintuitive to the rest of my crypto analysis, but I'm just calling it how I see it. Got this breaker right here. The fair value gap right there. I like breakers that have that. Now we can also mark this as a whole order block, but I like this zone. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to mark an alert for that. So if we can get a push into that and the 5-minute reverse is in this zone, I'll look to sell into this low. Now the narrative would be that we're drawing up to that. Now why is that? Because the most recent displacement is right there. Now we're just now kind of retracing into it. So we're taking out this low. We've got this order block right here. Price is now doing a little 3 drive into it, it looks like. So it could potentially maybe see a long out of this zone. Because we started to shift on the 5-minute. Came into this zone. So look at this candle, or this candle is your order block, whatever. So I don't really like this price action as far as this right here, because we took the low and see how we kind of came down into that low resistance run. So I would almost look for this to get taken again. I could be wrong because everything else is saying to long this. I'm just looking at why would I not long it. So I always try to think like that, but could see a little more of a push down. I mean, it looks good, I won't lie. I just don't like that low resistance run on liquidity. So I'd keep an eye on this. You know, I'm not going to long it here. If this like right here, so like with this low would have went down under it and then went the displacement, I'd probably long. But just because that, I'm not really a huge fan of it. Could be, I could regret that. We'll see. Not really too worried about it. If the market flies, I'm already in long. So yeah, overall, that's the narrative I see for good old Matic. Oh my god, it's fucking. I just have to delete this fucking motherfucker shit. It's fucking putting all sorts of fucked up shit in the goddamn comments. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Only play. This guy's a troll from Playbit. They got banned. God damn, the fucking comment section's so fucked up. Sorry about that, guys. For range is like massive, like HBAR on the weekly. Is there much value in looking at it? Yeah, for sure. Now with crypto, I wouldn't bet your heart that it's ever going to go back to those things because there's a lot of these coins that are done. Like I'm not saying HBAR is one of them, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of coins that as GG's in the chat, like they're never going back. So crypto, you have to kind of take with a grain of salt. Yeah, ZP, that dude's he's a psychopath. People in Playbit, no. I said, hey, but yeah, no. As far as this question about do we pay attention to massive ranges? Always pay attention to it, but like sometimes I won't use like the weekly. I'll use more of the daily. You know, like for HBAR, I wouldn't say that we're going to go back up to that premium. I wouldn't be betting the farm on that. Or with most alts, like Bitcoin, yeah. Ethereum, yeah. But most of these, I'd say 80% of the alts that we know and love, so to speak, they're fucking good dead forever. So he said Ape has a similar setup as Link. So just food for thought. It might have a similar setup. It does, but that doesn't mean we want to long it. And the reason is because we already have some exposure, and it's really easy to get, kind of go overboard and start like, kind of aping in, no pun intended. This actually does look good. I give it to you. It does look good. But you don't want you always want to just be mindful of that. Like, okay, do I want to just hop into another trade? I don't know. We just kind of just got into trades. We'll say this actually looks nice though. See that nice flush down into this low and then an immediate push back up. So what I do in these situations, instead of just like setting a trade, would be to set an alert and then watch for the analysis to play out. And then maybe, you get into a trade after you've confirmed it, so to speak. Good eye, though, Ahmed. Good eye. Very good eye. It does look very similar. Sorry, excuse me, guys. I know that's loud as shit. And sometimes, see, I just knew that was going to be in premium. Like you'll get a better eye for ranges too. Like in the price action, it's it's algorithms running these markets. So a lot of times you're going to be able to start getting a little bit of a better feel for it. I need to start moving all my stuff to the middle. It looks so much cleaner. Good eye on this though. It is very nice setup. Oh wait, I didn't even put the best part, the green box. Let me go ahead and post this up in the server. Yeah, it's actually a pretty clean setup. We'll see how it plays out. It's funny. We're going to say that, and then tomorrow it's just going to fucking dump to the pits. $2. I'm just kidding. All the ape hodlers are rejoicing. Oh, fuck. I don't want to open a Chrome window. I do that on accident when I'm trying to get back to Brave. What's up, HUD? EGLD. So the term EGLD team is very clever. They rebranded. Now it's like a new thing that's not. Wait, did they really? Blue. What do I call the blue highlight? This is just the accumulation. So it's accumulation, manipulation, distribution. What did EGLD do? If it's that's what can come up, anything we'll see. Brand mine, like that's probably not what you guys are talking about. Multiverse X, is this like new? Is this some rug pull? Oh, Multiverse X, okay. Hey, there you go. Okay, so oh, okay, so it's still the same ticker. Oh, okay, never mind. EGLD, that's one of your best coins you trade, HUD, and you go fucking hard at this one. I think overall the draw is this low, right here. 37.87, I think will get met at some point. I think it'll probably see some upside first. Reason is price just massively pushing down. Here's a second leg of distribution. I think that we are on the sell side of this curve, so to speak. So I think price is going to seek down. I can't draw it good enough, but whatever. I like this imbalance is low hanging fruit. Again, you just want to revisit when price gets there, because it could go higher. There's also a breaker up here. I don't know. I kind of like this zone just because anytime I see those breakers, with the imbalances inside of them like this, I like that. And it's probably going to be an optimal trade entry too. Yeah, I actually like that a lot. So I'm going to set alerts for this. I'm going to set alerts for the breaker just because it's the lowest point. So if we do get a nice run, that would be a massive run. So I don't know if will or not. That I would look to price getting shorts around that area down into this low. I feel like since Elon became head twit, I've got more fucking bots than anything. It's like a joke. Yeah, added to so many like bullshit NFT conversations. So now it's going to 1 hour. So actually, it's pretty clean too. So I look at it like, okay, we know we took some liquidity out here. Nice push down right there. So we're respecting this area right here. Price came down close to it. Some kind of demand in there. Shifted up right there. Not the cleanest reaction off that. More like the order block seemed like is what it was reacting to. But now we're starting to push up. I just kind of got that raid, then that real shift, move back down. Overall, looking like upside. Low hanging fruit would probably be a little closer to us than the target I have as far as, that's not something I would probably long to. It's something I would sell from, so to speak. Here I think that the best point is just going to be this high. As an overall draw. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off here. I appreciate you all coming through. I'll be on here tomorrow at noon as well. And we'll kind of recap the week, see how we did on the bias. Mr. Shadow said he passed a funded. So fuck yeah, everybody congratulate Mr. Shadow. That's awesome, man. Happy for you. But yeah, You guys always know how to get at me. Ask me anything you want. Be safe out there, and I will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Peace.